Good morning. My name is Joe Curtatone. I'm the mayor of Somerville. I am joined by members of our public safety units here in the city. Chief Fallon from the police department, Chief Kelleher from the fire department, the superintendent of schools, Tony Pierantozzi, as well as our chief engineer, Rob King, and other members of the public works department. The region, as we all know, has experienced an enormous and exceptional amount of snow in the last 2 weeks, approximately 6 feet. In Somerville, we pride ourselves in working collaboratively with all units and every agency in the city to make all our streets passable, accessible to all, to make our school buildings safe. So when we open schools, there's a clear line of sight, safe areas to drop off kids, and our primary concern is to keep staff and children safe. It also means understanding the conditions of the buildings that will house our children during the learning day, as well as our staff in every city building. Over the last couple of days, we've paid closer attention, as much of the region, as the condition of our roofs on our buildings, our city buildings and our schools. Based on the information we received from experts over the last 24 to 36 hours, and in consultation with our school department and Superintendent Pierantozzi, the Somerville Public Schools will be closing its schools for the remainder of the week. We understand this is an incredible inconvenience to families and parents. I do understand my wife being parents of 4 children, but what's most important for us is that our children, our staff, and all our buildings are in a safe environment. By all industry standards and safety standards, anything over 18 inches poses a potential risk. Will that risk result in an actual collapse or compromising of the safety of any roof? We cannot guarantee, but it's a risk we will not take. Again, in consultation with experts, we begin an initial assessment. Today, we have experts on the ground looking at every roof of every city building, every school building. We've undertaken and executed an emergency contract with a roofing company to begin the removal of snow from the roofs of city and school buildings. Those workers are on the ground now. But we want to keep our children and our staff safe, which has led us to this decision. It's not an easy one, but it's the prudent one. It's the right one. We've undertaken an enormous, historic snow removal process in the city of Somerville. At times, we've had 150 pieces of equipment and assets on the ground to plow the streets, remove the snow, take the snow to our snow farm, utilize snow melters, cut down the intersections so there's clear line of sight at every crosswalk, and open every pedestrian way in the city, especially around our school buildings and city assets. Despite that great work, and if you go and travel around the city of Somerville, you see the work is evident. The condition of the buildings with the incredible weight bearing upon the roofs of the buildings is a concern. I'm going to pass the mic off to the Superintendent of Schools, Anthony Pierantozzi. I will give further comment as to our decision to close the schools for the remainder of the week. Superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As the mayor stated, nothing is more important to us than health and safety. It's the core of our decision-making process. We have worked long and hard, like all of the other school districts and cities and towns and regionals in the state, to recover from 3 massive snowstorms. As the news began to spread about roof collapses in the state, we became increasingly concerned about the depth of the snow on our roofs and the safety for our students, our staff, and our community members who visit our schools on a regular basis for a variety of purposes. I can attest to the fact that my own office, which is a 1-story flat roof structure at 42 Cross Street, has in fact roof deflection. The roof is bending down, and the walls have actually have a few cracks in them. So I have experienced personally the fact that we need to address this before we reopen our schools. I want to apologize for the inconvenience to our families, to our students. This was a week that we typically hit very hard in terms of academic emphasis in preparation for our standardized testing. It's a terrible week of school to miss. Not that there ever is a good one to miss. One thing that we have done is that parents will be getting today via lots of different mass media and social media a list of free applications that they can access either on a laptop, a smartphone, or on a desktop, and these are educational in nature. So we've put a list together to try to help parents, guardians, and students stay moving forward academically. Again, the most important thing to us is always health and safety. We work closely with the city, and this was a decision that was very difficult to reach, but once the report from the engineers came in, it was really a much easier decision than I thought it was going to be, because when health and safety is put at risk, then it's a very simple decision to make. I can't do that. I can't have children in schools walking in and out of doors while snow is being removed from roofs. That's, you know, the possibility of that freak accident is just too much a risk to take. The other thing I think is important to know, and I know it's on everybody's mind, is when are these days going to be made up? Well, we had a great school schedule this year, and I have copies for any of the media that would like to see it. Our 180th day of school was going to be June 18th, the earliest that it's been in many years. The 185th day, that's with 5 snow days, was going to be the 25th of June. Again, we had a really good schedule this year because we did away with a couple of holidays in the middle of the school year. Obviously, this sequence of events, including the roofs, including the 3 massive storms, and including whatever else may be coming our way, necessitates a reevaluation of the school year. We only have 1 vacation day or non-work day other than April vacation left in our calendar, and that's Good Friday on April 3rd. I will be making a recommendation to the school committee after we do some surveys and find out what staff members, parents, guardians, and community members really prefer. We have 4 days in April vacation, April 22nd, 23rd, 24th, and 21st, 22nd, 23rd, and 24th that are possible make-up days. We will also look at Saturdays, particularly in March before standardized tests, because that's an educationally strong period of time. But those decisions have not been made. We will work with the community. We will work, I will work with our union leaders to make sure that we have a decision that's in the best interest of students first and, of course, all others. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. I'm going to ask the head of capital projects and planning and engineering, Rob King, to come up and give you a little more detailed description of what we found on the roofs. But I can tell you that on average, we have snow of 3 feet on city and school buildings, in some cases over 6 feet, which poses a real problem from a safety standpoint. I'm going to ask Rob King to come up to give us more detail. Rob.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Rob King, Director of Capital Projects and Planning for the city. The Capital Projects and Planning Department this morning conducted an assessment of various buildings in the city, working with an architectural firm that we have on call. As the mayor had indicated, we're seeing an average of 2 to 3 feet for snow depths on the various buildings, and in some cases we're seeing depths approach 5 and 6 feet. As a result of that, we've asked the architectural firm to do an analysis of the snow density, an assessment of the structural capacity of the buildings to make sure that ultimately when we put people back in these buildings, they are safe for the students and the staff. That work is continuing as we speak. On behalf of Inspectional Services, I was asked to provide information to the general population on their buildings and what they should consider. If residents in the city have flat roofs or minor pitch to their roof, it is recommended that they have an assessment done. Do not let the snow build up on your roof. If it's over 18 inches deep, hire a contractor to come in and remove that snow. If you have parapets on your buildings, we would ask that you work with a structural engineer, make sure that an assessment gets completed so that we can be sure that the pedestrians walking along the sidewalks are safe as they move about. The last item would just be that businesses monitor the snow and ice that may be accumulating on their businesses, just to make sure that, again, pedestrians are safe as they're on the sidewalks. Again, we will update the mayor's office with more information as we get it. Thank you.
And finally, I'm going to ask the chief engineer of the fire department, Kevin Kelleher, to come up. And again, this decision was made in collaboration in constant conversation with capital planning, the fire department, inspectional services, our outside experts in the schools. So I'll ask Chief Kelleher to come up. Chief?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. One thing I'd like to emphasize that Rob King spoke about is snow on roofs of private homes and stuff. Please get an expert to check these roofs. Don't go out there yourselves. There's ice under some of the snow and stuff, and people could easily fall off the roof. We don't want to see that happen to anybody. The other thing people should monitor is ice and snow on their roof. If you believe you have a problem, call the fire department, call the police department, call 311. We've had some instances of snow and ice falling off of the roofs of buildings. Very dangerous situation for pedestrians. The other thing we want to emphasize is now with all the snow depth is that people who have put alternative heating systems in, direct vent systems, be very much aware of your vents. You hear this on all the other media all the time. We've been out there. If people call us, the fire department will respond and check your vent for you. We don't want to see anybody have an issue with carbon monoxide. Last but certainly not least, I'd like to thank all the people in the city who have shoveled out hydrants. It's very important for us to access them quickly in the event of a fire. If anybody has a question regarding the location of their hydrant, it's on the city's website. There's a map, but you can also contact the Somerville Fire Department. We will give you more specific information. Let's just, everybody be safe out there. One other issue is parked vehicles. I know the snow ban is still in effect. Right now, on most of our residential streets, we have just enough room to fit a fire vehicle down there. It is imperative that we be able to reach people whether you have a fire or a medical emergency. So if people could just really watch their parking and parking on corners. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. And I again want to emphasize and state the following to the public. We understand these past couple of weeks have been incredibly inconvenient and frustrating. It's been difficult for us too. But rest assured, the public's health and safety, and that of our school children and our staff, is at the center of everything we do. We will spare no expense or resource for the removal of the snow, the widening of streets. The snow ban, as the chief has just stated, remains in effect. We'll be rolling the ban off and opening up our main thoroughfares and crossroads. We'll be getting into neighborhoods. We've been able to obtain more resources from MEMA, including front-end loaders, bobcats, and dump trucks. Again, we'll have we're in full operation in snow removal efforts, and we will get the roofs cleared. So as we make it through the February vacation period, we open up again, we'll feel confident that the school buildings are safe for our children and staff to be in, and we'll take any action necessary to get there, but we will not take the risk of any one person being injured just to open up a building, either a city building or a school building. So again, I want to thank the public for their understanding, their flexibility, and rest assured that we are working around the clock to make our community, our roadways, our neighborhoods, our business districts, and our school and city buildings safe for everyone. At this time, I'm happy to take any questions you may have.
Are any of the buildings showing signs of potential collapse? Like, it was mentioned that some of the office buildings are already showing some signs.
At this time, we're conducting more detailed assessments. We have experts on the ground, or I should say on the roofs, looking at that, and we'll report back to the public if we see anything. If there's any compromising of any structure, we'll keep that structure closed.
There's a lot of snow in 2013. Were schools closed similarly back then?
Not for rooftops. Well, I don't believe in 2013 for that reason, but we've seen a historic amount of drifts on the buildings. And I think what Rob King can answer better than experts can has been explained to me. As you had a little melting yesterday, and that freezes up, that poses incredible pressure on the weight-bearing capacity of a roof. Rob, do you want to answer that a little bit more?
Yeah, ultimately, we're keeping an eye on the loads that are on the building. It's not just the snow loads. The longer the snow sits there, it melts, it freezes, actually gets heavier. The locations where we have drifts, it could be even more of a point load on that roof. So that's why we have to get a better sense of what we're dealing with for weight, and then what the structural plans, what the building was originally designed to support.
But is this type of cancellation for the rest of the week because of all this pressure happened before?
No, we've had cancellation, I remember several years ago, for a remainder of a week, but more because the intersections around the schools didn't have a clear line of sight, but not in my memory on the roofs. Danielle?
Yeah, Joe, if there is substantial damage to any of these buildings, how are you guys planning on paying for this?
Well, we'll seek our insurer first to see what coverage we have. At the end of the day, we have to bring any building into compliance, whether it's insured or not insured.
There's been a lot of talk statewide that this snowstorm has showed many examples of kicking the can down the road in terms of infrastructure everywhere. Is this another example of that?
I'm not so certain on the building issue. We have some buildings that, I think one of the dates that was explained to me, that anything built pre-1978, as building codes have changed, poses issue. I think on the school building side, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts has a very robust and aggressive and progressive program to where communities are renovating or building new school buildings. It's just a lot of snow to hold on a roof. On the infrastructure side, I agree. We've seen that, what's happening with the T. And that consequence has been well choreographed over the years, where there's been a systemic lack of investment in the rail systems. Some cars that we're using on the T system date back to the 60s. So it's no surprise to me, and especially for a community that is heavily dependent on one of the highest users of the transit systems, the public transit systems, there were shutdowns of those systems.
You wouldn't say there's a similar lack of investment in terms of school buildings, since there's so many, this isn't a unique problem, there's other communities dealing with closures because of old buildings.
No, in some of them, we've built several new buildings over the last 10 to 15 years, as many communities. What might be an important question to ask, do standards have to change in terms of weight-bearing issues? We're starting to see changes in weather patterns, folks. We've seen how many hurricanes and superstorms, and now we've had 3 major snow events in just 2 weeks. And the question we ask is this: what's going to happen in the future? Do we need to rethink how we have to build our structures or maintain our structures? It's something we have to deal with, and it's something we have to pay attention to. We refuse to ignore the fact that we have an average of 3 feet of snow on our buildings, and that poses a real risk.
Could this, I know the priority seemed to be the high school. You guys are conducting a $2 million feasibility study. If one of the other buildings, say the administration building, is showing some serious structural signs, could the high school project be pushed back possibly and to repair some of the other schools?
No, I'm going to hold the two separate. The high school potential building of a new Somerville High School is separate and aside from this issue. If there's an immediate safety concern on any building, we'll deal with that immediately. So we have not just school buildings, city buildings where have flat roofs that are somewhat aged, and we have an aggressive infrastructure investment plan. We have Engine 7 on Highland Avenue that we were scheduled to do roof repairs, so that's a priority for us. This building here, we've kept together for many years. We want to build a new police station. We still have to maintain it in a good state of repair. We have libraries with flat roofs. It's roofs and even aged buildings that are more pitched, like the Brown School, we feel a lot better about, but the high school, which is, the main part of the building is well over 100 years old. We're really concerned about that building. So our main thing is to get all the buildings in a good state of repair, in a safe, stable condition. And those other projects are more longer term, and that's not going to take us off that schedule.
And how's the city's snow removal budget?
We're well past that. I think we originally budgeted just short of $1 million. Last estimate, we were about $1.5 million in climbing. We expect to get some reimbursement, but this type of event, we can't spare in any expense, and we're going to use every resource available to us. A lot of times what's holding communities back is we're not the only ones seeking these type of resources, whether it's removal of snow off rooftops or equipment to clear our streets. And our personnel is taxed. They're tired. Our equipment, we made major investments in new equipment in Somerville over the last decade. Even the newer stuff is starting to break down. And the private contractors who are willing to work for us, their crews are exhausted as well. Despite that, we've had up to 150 pieces of equipment or assets at any one time out there. We'll continue to spend as much as we need to get the job done. Is that it?
Do you have any estimates about how much you guys might be spending after the storm, assuming that there's not too much another blizzard?
No, up until 2 weeks ago, I thought everybody thought we were getting off scot-free from the winter. Mother Nature came back with a vengeance. So let's just pray she's a little kinder to us over the next month. Right? Thank you very much.